All right. What have we learned so far about determination of structure of the compound? We've started with the degree of unsaturation. We have IR that tell you about functional group. A mass spec tell you a mass, and then you can convert to a molecular formula later using group 13. Okay. Carbon NMR, which is much more clear, yeah, clearer than the rest. All right. And now we're gonna move on to the most powerful technique we call proton NMR. All right. Before we get to the detail, I just show like a few proton NMR that might be interesting. Okay. So all right, we have if you eat pancake, you might like maple syrup. Look like down here. Okay. This is a proton NMR of maple syrup. All right. So it looks pretty clean. We also have a syrup from Walmart. uh, Probably have a lot of chemical in there. So let's do just a lot of signals. So anyway, so just something that you can see. A little chemistry about maple syrup. If you look at your handout, so I attach this into the handout as well. So in maple syrup, there are sugar. There's some acidic compound, phenolic compound. Got a phenol group in there, all right? When and colors, that's a caramel color. You can read all this later. Anyway, so if we have any pre-med here or anyone who work with the medical field, if you are familiar, and I hope so, you're familiar with the MRI, magnetic resonance imaging. It's the same technique with the proton NMR, not the carbon NMR, but the proton NMR. Exactly the same technique. Okay, because think about it, our body contains a lot of water, there's hydrogen, contains a lot of organic compounds that have carbon, have hydrogen. So we have a lot of protons in our body. So you can use the technique called proton NMR or MRI in medical field to visualize, to show the image of our some parts of our body. All right, I give you some example here. So this is an instrument, right? It's an instrument. We put a person in there, a patient, and there's a magnetic field going on in there. I don't know how things work in there, but the result look like this. I give you some example here. So this one I took it from, I don't know, some website. This patient, I'll take a look. So I'm going to label right here this his spinal cord. Okay, and the spinal cord is ruptured for some reason, and you can actually see right there. All right, it's really interesting technique. Since they are the same, the MRI and the proton NMR is actually the same technique, but they changed its name only because the word NMR, nuclear magnetic resonance, the word nuclear scare people, so they changed it to magnetic resonance and add the word imaging. There's some equipment in there to convert the spectrum to the picture, yeah, show image of our body. Okay. All right. So a little bit, just want you to be familiar. Just like IR, the same drill. If you remember when I taught you IR, I just kept showing you IR spectra after spectra after spectra. You're gonna see the same idea in a proton NMR, but this one just like introduction. Okay. Do not memorize anything on this. I just want to show you, hey, this is what you're gonna see later. All right, you have seen the carbon NMR before, and so the two main information, we got number of signals, all right, so how many signals on it, and the chemical shift down here from 0 to over 200 ppm. But on the scale of the chemical shift on proton NMR is only about 0 to 12, the 13 the highest. We don't really go over that. Okay, the proton NMR give you actually more information. You can see the number of peaks still there, right? But it also gives you integration, which is the number of protons giving rise to each signal, which is, we don't do that with carbons. Carbon just one carbon. Okay. We also got spin multiplicity, the doublet, quartet, triplet. We did that just a little on carbon NMR, which is tell you how many protons are on each carbon. But in proton NMR, it tells you how many neighboring hydrogen are on surrounding each protons we're looking at. Okay, we're gonna get to all this detail later, but proton NMR is the most powerful technique for structural determination, and we're gonna learn just a little in detail on how to use it. Okay, all right, let's move on to the first information in proton NMR on the next video.